So what is going on, guys? I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another video on the channel where today what I wanted to do is give you my first impressions of Vanguard zombies along with a community roundup of what everyone has been saying about the zombies mode in this game, letting you guys, who I guess is anyone who hasn't bought the game and got to experience for themselves, which by the way I always say with any review, whether it be YouTube, whether it be movies, video games, food, whatever it is, you should always form your own opinions on things. And I did think to myself, should I even make this type of video, because I know 99% of people within the zombies community just won't do it for various reasons, mainly because some people don't like other people's opinions. But at the end of the day, I at least don't live in North Korea. Everyone has freedom of speech, and when you're paying for any product, you have the right to give constructive feedback. You can praise things, criticize. You shouldn't have to feel like you can't do that because of backlash, I guess. So I wouldn't be surprised if any other YouTubers, whether them being bigger, smaller, whether it's a verified account on Twitter, even though I've seen over the past day since its release what a lot of people think, I also know because of what I've just explained, you probably won't see many people giving their thoughts on the game, at least not the negative stuff. And so what I wanted to do, instead of just giving my opinion on Vanguard zombies, whether I think it's good, bad, okay, I wanted to give the community's feedback. And well, if you've been on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook since its release, or if you've just played the game for yourself, I'm sure you would have seen most of the reviews or feedback for Vanguard zombies is very, very negative. In fact, I don't think in my whole, 10 years, 11 years of witnessing Call of Duty Zombies games release, I haven't seen anything as negative as this ever. Just some of the complaints about this mode are that there is no Easter egg, you can't pause the game in solo, you can't YY cancel reload unless you buy a second weapon, no longer is your second weapon a knife or fists, there's also no Pack-a-Punch camo, no wonder weapon, the 5 same perks that we've seen for a very long time now, the 4 same field upgrades that we had in Cold War, there are no wall weapons, people are lagging in private and solo matches, there's no intel system, so there's no easy way, especially in solo, to listen to radios, there are only 3 objectives, which gets very repetitive, there's no round-based map, there's not one single round-based feature in this mode, so it doesn't cater to those players at all. There's no Wonder Fizz, you get kicked for inactivity on a solo match, that also goes hand in hand with the fact that you can't pause the game, and as a whole, there is no content in this zombies mode. There are a few bugs and glitches, as you would expect being a new game, but Fang as a whole is the absolute bare bones of zombies. There's nothing to do. Once you've played this game once and you get to round 15, you've done absolutely everything there is to do. So by the time, and I've felt this myself, when you play Fang for the second time, you will notice you've done everything. Now before I carry on, I should explain, because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter still don't know this, but this year's zombies has been developed by Treyarch. The game as a whole is Sledgehammer's, so the campaign and multiplayer is theirs, but the zombies mode was made by Treyarch. Now you should also know that Treyarch didn't get the full amount of time to develop this. I think they've been working on the zombies mode in this game since about March, so for around 7 to 8 months. Now I don't know to what extent before Treyarch came in, Sledgehammer were working on the zombies mode of Vanguard, so I do think it is important to bear that in mind. We all know about video game time crunches, and especially Activision, their development teams, whether it be Treyarch, Infinity Ward or Sledgehammer, they don't get much freedom or choice, I guess, in what they do. The final decision is down to Activision, so it does seem like Treyarch were forced to come in and work on the zombies mode for Vanguard, and I've seen a lot of people say this over the past day, but when you're paying £70 for a video game, full priced, you still don't expect a half-baked, half-finished mode. If you're paying £40, £30, fine, but if this was any other developer using Cyberpunk as an example, you saw the backlash those developers got for that game for releasing it in the state that it came out on, and you can say the same for any industry. If say a studio released a movie with shitty editing, poor green screen, people would be pissed off if they paid full price tickets. I could give so many other examples, but what I'm saying is if you pay full price for anything, this game is the same price as every other game out there. You expect top quality, and Vanguard Zombies just isn't that. Maybe it will be 6 months down the line, but that shouldn't have to be the case. It should be on day one, you get what you paid for. And 99% of the comments from what I've seen from people don't feel that right now. So let's go through my list that I've got here. The first thing I've got is there are no Easter eggs in Vanguard Zombies. Now we knew previous to this there wouldn't be a main quest. We found this out about a week ago where Treyarch came out and said that during Season 1 is when the main quest for Durang Fang will come, so probably early 2022. The game has only been out for a day, so as far as side Easter eggs go, I don't believe anything has been found yet, but potentially there are some smaller ones in there. I don't know. That in itself is a pretty big thing because never before, since main Easter eggs became a thing in Zombies, we've never had a game that hasn't launched with one. That already takes away half of the content in a Zombies map. The second thing on my list is there's no pause option. For solo, this is a major problem because, well, you can't leave if you need the toilet or you need to get some food. Yeah, that's not happening unless you want to die or you want to get kicked from the game for inactivity. I believe Treyarch have said they will be adding that to a patch later on, but again, you'd expect that on day one. Surely that's the bare minimum of any video game. Something I found a problem for me personally, I don't know about anyone else, but you can't YY cancel your reload because you don't start with a secondary weapon. Now, this wasn't an issue in the older days when we had wall weapons, or you started with a pistol, not a custom loadout, because most people these days won't purchase a second weapon. Now that we have custom loadouts in Zombies, there's no reason to get any other gun, so I almost feel forced to buy a secondary weapon just because YY cancel reloading is very useful for getting out of those sticky situations. Say you've started reloading, zombies are surrounding you, and you need to cancel and continue shooting, otherwise the time it does take you to reload, you're going to be dead. So for some odd reason, even though it was a thing in Cold War, we don't have fists or a knife as a secondary weapon straight off the bat. Another major one, something that's never happened in Zombies ever, is there is no Pack-a-Punch camo. This was a thing even in World at War, yet 13 years later, we now don't have one. Again, Treyarch have said it will be coming later on, but you'd expect it day one. The next one, there is no wonder weapon. Yes, not even a ray gun. I don't know much about video game development, but how hard would it have been to add the ray gun into Vanguard Zombies? A lot of the stuff in this game is copied from Cold War anyway. The ray gun has been in every iteration of Treyarch Zombies, but for some reason it's not in Vanguard, and that's without even mentioning an actual wonder weapon. There isn't one in Durang Fang. Next up, yet again, like Cold War, we have the same 5 perks we saw in that game. What I think Treyarch tried to do was cover this up and make it seem like we had new perks by changing the name. So for example, Deadshot is now called Wolfbite, Juggernog is called something else, I can't remember what the name is. I don't know why they've changed the name because they work exactly the same. Like I said, I think that's just to make them look like they're new, but they're not. The perks are Juggernog, Quick Revive, Stamina Up, Speed Cooler and Deadshot. The same 5 perks that we've had in Zombies since the beginning. Back in Black Ops 1, I think all of these were introduced. In Cold War on day 1, we actually did have a new perk, although it was the only one in that game, it was still something new. But yeah, no new perks, and whilst I'm still on the topic of the perk system, I don't know what's going on here, but for some reason it is a massive downgrade from Cold War's. In my opinion, Cold War's perk system was the best we've seen to date. So as you can see here, in the main menu, there were skill trees, not only for the perks, but also for the field upgrades, weapons, perks, ammo mods. All of these things could be upgraded, and each of these upgrades gave you a different ability. So for the perks, here on Quick Revive for example, tier 1 would increase your down crawl speed, tier 2 would reduce the delay before health regeneration by 50%, tier 3 would mean reviving an ally could also heal you to full health, tier 4 would increase both player movements once you'd revive someone, and tier 5 would mean you could revive yourself if you killed an enemy whilst down. And you can go through each and every perk and look at their upgrades, and every single one of them is useful and different from the last. Now we come to Vanguard Zombies, where the skill tier system in the main menu is no longer there, and instead in game you can buy each perk a total of 4 times, meaning you can upgrade it 4 times, but each and every upgrade is the same besides from it giving you a plus percentage. So if we take Wolfbite for example, if you just buy the perk, it gives you plus 25% critical damage. If you purchase it again, it increases your critical damage. If you purchase it for a 3rd time, it increases your critical damage, and you purchase it for a 4th time, it increases your critical damage. And then we go back to Cold War, looking at the same perk, which is Deadshot. If you purchased it once, you would deal 100% critical damage. If you purchased it a 2nd time, it increased damage against armor by 50%. A 3rd purchase would reduce hit fire spread. The 4th purchase would increase critical bonus damage, and the 5th meant that each consecutive hit on the enemy would deal 2% more damage to a maximum of 20% damage. And this is the same for all of the perks. Every time you upgrade a perk in Vanguard Zombies, it just adds a percentage to what it already does. It doesn't actually change or give you new effects. you buy Juggernog and Vanguard. The first purchase gives you 25% health, the second purchase gives you a little bit more health, the third purchase a little bit more health, and then the final purchase 100% health. Comparing that to what Juggernog did in Cold War, the first purchase reduced status effects duration by 50%, the second purchase, armor plates replenished 25% additional armor, the third purchase increased maximum health by 100, the fourth, armor durability was increased, and the fifth, instead of getting down by a lethal hit, armor is depleted and health is reduced to 1. I don't need to go through all of the other perks for you to see that. It is such a massive downgrade from Cold War's perk system. The one in Vanguard feels almost pointless. Why not just give us 100% health for Juggernog straight away? What is the point of giving it us little by little? It doesn't actually feel like I'm working towards anything, more of it's a chore, almost like the system is being put into Vanguard just to make it seem like something's there. And it feels like even more of a chore in Vanguard because you have to do it every single game, unlike in Cold War where at the end of a game you earn crystals and then in the menu you could purchase these perk abilities permanently. It isn't permanent in Vanguard. You have to buy the perk upgrades every single time. And I'm almost getting to the point where I've only played Vanguard for a few hours, maybe 10 hours plus something like that, but now when I'm going into the games, I'm like, you know what, I don't even need these upgrades. They're that minuscule and they cost that much in essence, where I'm back to that Black Ops 4 Zombies mindset, where I feel I just don't even need to buy the perks anymore, or I don't feel the need that I must spend my points to upgrade them. Something very similar to the perk system for me is also the field upgrades. These are now known as artifacts in Vanguard, however they are linked to Elder Gods now. There are 4 in total, being Frostblast, Energy Mine, Ether Shroud and Ring of Fire. Once again, all 4 that we've seen previously, nothing new here. However, when we got to the end of Cold War's life cycle, there were a total of 8 field upgrades in that game, but if we just go to the beginning of its life, there were 5. There is only 4 in Vanguard, for some reason less than what we had in Cold War. I don't know how difficult it would have been to just add all 8 of them, or at least add a couple more. It just means there's less variety in the game. The field upgrades this time in Vanguard though do have a bit more personality. They're now linked to Elder Gods. Not that this has much of an effect on gameplay though. If you're not interested in the story, then this won't make a single difference to you. And I don't want to say this, although I've been thinking it every time I play the game. The voices of these Elder Gods it's just a little bit cringe.
Let's find a place to make a portal. Start looking around.
I'll open a portal so you can send our cry for help.
I don't know if they're trying too hard to be funny or they're trying too hard to replace a set cast, which is what they're meant to do, because we don't have set playable characters in Vanguard Zombies, which was a massive problem in Cold War. A lot of people complained about it. What Treyarch have tried to do is fix that by linking gods to these field upgrades and giving them personality. So whilst you're playing the game, these gods will talk to you, but the dialogue it's a little bit cringe. Everything I've heard them say so far doesn't really give you anything story-wise. It definitely doesn't replace the set cast. I can see what they've done. They definitely tried, and maybe as time goes on, as the story progresses, it will get better, but the writing at the moment for those characters, I don't know, I'm not feeling it. Another thing, as I mentioned earlier, is there are no wall weapons. Now, for me, this isn't really a problem. I think ever since Cold War, ever since custom loadouts were added into zombies, people don't buy wall weapons anymore. But like I said, because we don't start with a secondary weapon being a knife or fists, most people are going to end up rolling the mystery box anyway just to get a second weapon. But no wall weapons does mean less content. I guess that then brings us to the mode itself, or the map, Fang. It's difficult to describe what this actually is because I don't really know myself. It's been described by Treyarch as being a mixture of round-based, onslaught and outbreak content. However, nothing about Fang appeases round-based players. There is not one single thing about this, not one feature that is round-based. It is multiplayer / campaign maps and outbreak objectives, with one of the objectives being like onslaught. There is not one single thing about this that is catered towards round-based players. And Treyarch did say from their own mouths that this is something that round-based players will be happy with as well. It's pretty much a more confined, smaller, faster-paced version of Outbreak. But even then, it's still bare bones because there are 3 objectives. So let me explain how this works if you haven't played it for yourself. In order to progress through rounds, you have to complete objectives. There is no other way to get from round 1 to 2 to 3, 4, 5. You have to do objectives every time. And what's worse is there are only 3 objectives in the game. So every 3rd round you reach, you are doing the same 3 objectives over and over again. So by the time you reach round 6, you've repeated every objective. It just gets very, very repetitive and boring by the time you get to round 12. I mean, in order to make this system even viable, you need at least 10 objectives. And the rounds, even when they do go up, they no longer work like round based. So you can see even from this gameplay, I am on round 6, but because it works like Outbreak, where the world grows harder, the lower rounds are a lot more difficult than what they would be if it was round based. So in reality, I don't know what the conversion is in terms of difficulty and zombie health, but round 6 would probably be something like round 16 if it was round based, and round 15, from a lot of gameplay that I've been seeing on YouTube, that's when a lot of people quit just because they've done everything there is to do in the game. That feels like, again, I don't know the exact conversions, but round 40 to 50. After round 15, it seems like the carnage is massively ramped up. The hub, this area, which is Stalingrad, has everything you need. So the Pack-a-Punch, the Covenant's Altar, the table to get your armor and stuff like that. This is the main hub of Duranfang. Every time you complete an objective, the hub gets bigger, doors open, but you can open this whole area by, I think it's round 5 or 4, when you've completed all 4 regions. So Shinonuma, the hotel rooftop, the inside area of Stalingrad, I can't remember what that's called, and the farm. When you've gone to all 4 regions, you've opened up Duranfang, which you can complete by round 4. So after round 4, you've opened up the whole map. I did mention a little bit earlier the fact that Duranfang is taken completely from multiplayer and campaign. Now, this is something that's happened in Zombies since the very beginning, but not in the way that it's been done lately in Vanguard or Cold War. Every Zombies map in World at War 13 years ago, that was when Treyarch took maps from the campaign and multiplayer and put them in Zombies. But ever since then, with the exception here and there, Black Ops 1, 5 was a campaign mission, so was Ascension to a certain extent, but the map Moon was made for Zombies, so was Kino der Toten. And then we have BO2, Transit was a Zombies map, Mob of the Dead, Origins, Nuketown was a bonus map, that's multiplayer. Every map from Black Ops 3, every Chaos map from BO4, the Ether ones were remakes from previous Zombies maps, but all of these maps were designed uniquely for Zombies. Der Eisendrache, Shadows of Evil. Yes, they reuse assets from the campaign and multiplayer, in the same that sometimes the campaign or multiplayer reuses assets from Zombies. Why not? But these maps as a whole are designed specifically for Zombies. And this is something that's been happening since Cold War, besides from D Machine, which is the actual only proper Zombies map in Cold War. And you can tell that the way it feels, the layout, that map was designed for Zombies. Every other map, whether it be Forsaken, Mao the Toten, Firebase C, and then we come to Duranfang, these are all maps taken from the campaign or multiplayer. The layouts of them aren't designed for Zombies. Instead of just taking assets and then creating a Zombies map, these are taken straight from the campaign and multiplayer with a few small changes to the atmosphere, but the layout is a big deal. You can tell in the main hub on Stalingrad in Duranfang, this is a multiplayer map. There are massive open areas. There are objects and places that just don't make sense from a Zombies point of view. Since we don't have people shooting at us, we don't need to take cover. Unlike from Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 4, what we are now getting is maps that were designed by the campaign and multiplayer team and then given to Zombies, where they've just been given that Zombies atmosphere, whereas before we had maps that were designed by the Zombies team. These aren't. And I do believe a major factor of this is down to time restraints, but that still doesn't mean it's not sad seeing this happen. It's so obvious to me that D Machine is a Zombies map, it was developed by them, but then everything that's come after, it isn't. And I'm just kind of getting to the point, being a Zombies player, where it's just a little bit annoying. Not even for this game, but for Cold War as well. Anyway, I'm going to quickly go over everything else, otherwise this video is going to go on for ages. If you are a high rounds player in Zombies, I'm not, so I can't talk from my perspective, but from what I've been saying, it's completely chalked on this just because of how the rounds work. It is Outbreak style, not normal round based, so high rounds is almost impossible. You're not going to be able to compare rounds in this game to your previous high rounds in other games. Also, the point system, again, is like Outbreak. I think you get something like 30 points a kill, but it does make sense with how the rounds work now. The main complaint that I've been seeing on Twitter is this isn't round based content, which is what a lot of people want. The counter argument I've seen is Treyarch didn't have time to make a round based map, but surely if you've got time to make a brand new mode, it would be easier to make a round based map. Shinonuma is already in the game, so I don't know how difficult it would have been to just make that a round based map already. I think that would have pleased a lot of the round based community, but also I just said making this new mode would have been harder than just turning Duranfang into a round based map. And something I tweeted yesterday, I just want to read this. I said, why do Treyarch keep trying to reinvent the wheel? How hard is it to keep the same Zombies formula that has been a success since the beginning and just give us a new story in maps? Stop overcomplicating Zombies. It isn't difficult to understand, and that's how I feel at the moment. What has made zombies successful since it launched back in 2008, that is this formula of round-based content. You get into a map, you kill zombies, and you go higher up in the rounds. That's worked since the beginning. That's what people have been happy with. I've never ever seen a comment at the end of a game's life cycle, Black Ops 1, I didn't see people saying, you know what, I don't want round-based maps anymore, I want something else. I didn't see people at the start or at the end of Black Ops 2 saying, I don't want more round-based maps, I'm bored of zombies. People didn't say that during Black Ops 3's life cycle. People didn't even say they were bored of zombies during Black Ops 4's life cycle. That game was hated on for a different reason, because once again, like in Vanguard, they changed the system, but it wasn't the actual formula of zombies that people didn't like. They kind of reverted back to the round-based formula in Cold War, but they added Outbreak. However, for the most part, that was fine with people because you had a choice. You could either do round-based or Outbreak. However, in Vanguard, you don't have a choice. There is this new mode. You have to complete these same 3 objectives if you want to progress through rounds. You can't just go in there and kill zombies. If you want to buy perks, pack a punch, get covenants, you have to keep completing these same 3 objectives. And finally, I guess a few other things, but I think this just goes to show that the game isn't finished. The animation for teleporting is poor. When you get a nuke, I mean, just take a look for yourself, I didn't even know I was getting a nuke.
Effortless carnage.
There's no big explosion on the screen, it doesn't go white, the zombies don't set on fire, they just drop dead. And I guess that's it. It just feels, at the moment, there is no content in Vanguard Zombies. There's nothing to do. Once you've played it once, you've done. Of course, there are things I like. The new Covenant system, although it's very bare bones, it's not that effective or game-changing. I like the idea. I think that's something that can get better over time, obviously, as the game as a whole can. But what I do think needs to change is this new system that they're trying to bring in. It feels like they're trying to get rid of round-based content, which I don't believe is the right direction to go in. You're killing off a major section of your player base, which has been there since the beginning. It is us what made zombies, because at the end of the day, in the beginning, this was a bonus game mode. It wasn't even meant to be in COD, and Treyarch have said themselves, it was the community that made it. We came up with the story, we made it as big as it is, and to just forget those people and move on to a newer, casual style player base, which again is what they've said they want to do, those are the type of players that will play once. The hardcore fan base has been there since the very beginning, and to ignore them, I don't know, I just don't feel like it's going to end well. And the reason I've made this video is because I love COD Zombies and I just want it to be the best it can be. And if we all just ignore these things, don't give constructive feedback, then things don't change. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. Leave a rating. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay up to date with the latest videos. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.